Welcome to third quarter, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Mr. Jansen. You might have had a different teacher last quarter, and that's okay. But it's wonderful to have you in my class. So let's get started on solving systems of equations by graphing. If you remember in quarter one, we solved equations. We usually solved for an x. That was just one variable. We had one equation. But what we're doing now is we're going to be seeing multiple equations and multiple variables. Usually it's going to be two equations with two variables. And instead of solving for just one variable, we have to solve for both of them, an x and a y. There's going to be three different ways that we show you how to solve a system of equations. And those three ways are graphing, that's what we're going to be working on today. Then there's another one called substitution. We're going to work next week on that one. And then elimination. We'll do that one the week after. Each one kind of has its advantages as to when to use it or not. But today we're going to be working on graphing, and that's going to be convenient when you have a graph. And it'll help kind of visualize what you're actually finding when you do this math. So first off, let's go over this word, a solution. A solution to a system of equations is the only point that will make both equations true. And if you think graphically, the only point that makes both equations true will be where they cross. That's the only point that's on both lines. So let's do a couple easy ones. First one says, identify the solution to the following systems of equations. So we've already got them graphed for you. We've got this line in purple. We've got this line in red. All we have to do is identify the point where they cross. And if I look at this first one, they cross right here. And that point is 6, 3. There's our solution, there's our answer, 6, 3. This unit isn't so bad, is it? Let's go to the next one. We've got this red line, we've got the purple line, and eventually they do cross right there. So all you have to do is list that coordinate. That coordinate would be -5, 3. And there's our answer. I bet you're liking this unit so far. Don't worry, it won't always be this easy. And the last one, we have this purple line, we've got this red line. However, you might notice that they're parallel. They're going to run side by side forever and ever and ever and ever, and they'll never touch. So since they never touch, there will be no solutions. So remember, they have to cross in order to have a solution. If they never cross, no solutions. So there's the first three. Go ahead and pause the video and try the next three on your own. Should be some easy points for these assignments. So go ahead and hit pause. When you're done, come on back and we will move on to solving them by graphing. All right, hopefully those first three were pretty painless. Let's move on to solving them by graphing. So now we're going to give you two equations, and you see those right up here. Y equals -2/5 x plus 1, and y equals 1/5 x plus 4. Hopefully you haven't forgotten how to graph, but if you did, here's a quick crash course. Let's start by using green for this top one. Y equals -2/5 x plus 1. The slope is -2/5. That's the number that goes right next to the x. And the other number, that plus 1, is your y-intercept. That's where I'm going to start my graph. I'm going to start my graph at plus 1. So you start with the y-intercept on the up and down line. That's the y-axis. Now from there, the slope is -2/5. So it's going down by 2 and over to the right by 5. So from that point that we had, we're going to go down by 2 and over by 5. And we're going to continue that pattern down 2 over 5. And we can go backwards doing the same pattern, going up 2 and backwards 5. And that is the line. So that's the top one that we just graphed. Let's go ahead and grab a different color. We'll go blue. And now we're going to graph y equals 1/5 x plus 4. So I'm going to start up here at 4. There's our y-intercept. And now we have the slope of 1/5. So from there, it's a positive slope, so it's going up by 1 and over to the right by 5. So we're going to go up 1 and over 5. And you'll realize if I keep going over to the right, it's not super helpful because they're not going to cross over in that direction. But I'll still plot another point if I can fit it. But now we want to go backwards. We can go down 1 and back 5. And that takes us here. And down 1, back 5 takes us here. And that's the blue line. So remember, when you're solving a system of equations, what you're really trying to do is just find the point where they cross. And if you look at where they cross right there at the coordinate -5, 3. So there's your solution, -5, 3. So in all of the previous examples, the graphs were given to you. We're not going to be that nice usually. We're going to make you actually graph them out yourself. But once you graph them out, all you have to do is pick that point where they cross and you're set. Let's go ahead and do one more together. Let's use green and blue again. So I'm going to start by graphing this one in green. We have y equals 3x minus 8. So the first thing that we have to plot is that minus 8. That's your y-intercept. Goes right there. Now, if it has a slope of 3, hopefully you remember that that 3 is the same as like 3 over 1. So it's going to be a positive slope, so it's going up by 3, and it's going over by 1. So from that first dot we put, we're going to go up 3 and over 1, up 3 over 1, up 3 over 1, up 3 over 1, and so on, and so on. And once you have all those, you can connect them. Go this way. And there's the green line, 3x minus 8. Now let's go ahead and graph the blue line. We have y equals negative x plus 8. Now there's no number in front of that x. You can treat it as y equals negative 1x plus 8. That means the exact same thing. And negative 1 is the same as negative 1 over 1. So we'll use that to help graph. First point we plot is that plus 8. Now it's going to be going down by 1 and over by 1. Down 1 over 1. Down 1 over 1. And you can keep that pattern going. And then connect them once you see that they cross. And remember, we're trying to find the point where they cross, and that was right here, and it crossed at the point 4, 4. So there's your solution. One thing I do want to point out is you can take your answer and you can plug it back in and you can check whether it's right or wrong. So I'm going to erase some of this. Let's plug in a 4 for x. So when you are looking at your answer, this is your x coordinate, this is your y coordinate. I'm going to replace x with 4. And if I get my answer for y, it better also equal what this number is, 4. So let's go ahead and double check. If I take 3 times 4 minus 8, 3 times 4 is a 12, subtract 8, you get 4, and that's what y equals. That's good. Now we check it on the other one. Negative 4 plus 8, negative 4 plus 8 is also equal to 4, so we know we got the correct answer. So if your x and y coordinate match up and they make the equations true, you know you got it correct. Go ahead and try the next one on your own, next two on your own, and see how you do. Go ahead and pause the video now before we move on. All right, you might be wondering, what is your password for this week? Your password for this week is going to be taxes. I just got my W-2 forms. Basically, that's saying how much I earned this year, how much taxes I paid in. So it's almost tax season, and some people like tax season because that's a time when they get money back. So maybe you paid too much in taxes. Some people really don't like taxes because they take a little bit more from you. So it depends on who you are, but it's almost tax season, so taxes is going to be your password. We're going to move on to the challenge, and you'll notice something different about these. They aren't in slope-intercept form. Do you remember what kind of form this is? That's right, it's standard form. And later on in the course, I'm going to show you a much easier way of solving these, called elimination. But right now, I don't want you to forget how you could graph things that are in standard form. So let's start with the first one. I'm going to use that one in green again. We have negative 5x plus 10y equals 10. It's currently in standard form. We don't like standard form, so let's put it into slope-intercept form. And remember, that's where you're trying to get y by itself. So we're going to add 5x to both sides. And then we're left with 10y equals, I'll write the x's first, 5x plus 10. Now it's almost by itself, but we still have to get rid of this 10. So we're going to divide everything by 10. And we get y equals, if you have 5 over 10, that just reduces to 1/2. So I'm going to write that as 1/2 x. And then 10 over 10 is 1. This is much easier for me to graph. So let's go ahead on our graph. We're going to start by plotting it on the 1. The slope is 1/2, so we can go up by 1 and to the right by 2. So up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, and keep that pattern going, and go back. And there's the first line. That wasn't so bad, was it? But we've got one other line to graph. So let's go ahead and graph this one. Again, we'll go into blue. So we have 2x plus 6y equals negative 24. 2x plus 6y equals negative 24. And again, it's in standard form. We don't really like graphing in standard form, so let's convert it to slope-intercept form. We're going to subtract 2x from both sides. Those 2x's go away. We're left with 6y equals, and I'll write the x's first again, negative 2x minus 24. We have 6y. I don't want 6y, I just want 1y. So we're going to divide everything by 6. And then the 6 goes away, and we're left with y equals 2 over 6 reduces to 1/3, so this will be negative 1/3 x. And then negative 24 divided by 6 is negative 4. This is the equivalent equation in slope-intercept form. So we're going to start by graphing the negative 4. And then the slope is negative 1/3, so we're going to go down 1 and to the right by 3. If you keep going down 1 and to the right by 3, it's kind of a waste of time. So we're going to go up 1 and backwards by 3. Sorry about that, the screen glitched out. We're going to go up 1 and back by 3 again, and so on until you can connect the line. Hopefully you noticed that, hey, they crossed. That's what we're looking for. So we're going to take our red one and circle it right there. There is our solution. So we just write out the coordinates there, and it's at negative 6, negative 2. And there's your solution to that challenge problem. So when they are in standard form, we don't really like it. You can convert it to slope-intercept form. And again, later on in the course, in about 2 weeks, we're going to use a method called elimination. And then it's going to be much easier than graphing it all out. So you'll find an algebraic solution when they are in standard form. So that's it for graphing. Again, all you got to do is just graph it, find the point where they cross. And I'll see you next week when we learn about substitution.